history-wise, I don't know if that's important or not. Graduated from the U in 1980, went to live in California and raised my family there for many, many years, and then moved back, take care of my folks, and been doing various things. So technology-wise, I've been working in just about everything in open source, so Perl, Ruby, a little bit of Python lately, JavaScript, and been learning React for the last couple of years and really enjoying it. Someone said, hey, you should give a talk. So I'm giving a talk. I'm giving a talk on just kind of like, how do I go about learning new technology? This probably won't be, you know, necessarily new for anybody. It's like, yeah, so I do that too kind of thing. But what the heck? So basically 4 things I do for learning new stuff. There's study, there's practice, projects, and then teaching. So then study is like, okay, so where do you start and those kinds of things? I usually start with reading, okay? And then lots of times I take classes. If you guys haven't ever been to Front-End Masters, you really should, because they are awesome. Study groups and meetups. Reading, documentations, like first place I go almost every time, hit the documentation, find out where all the documentation is, those sorts of things. Books, I am a huge fan of books. I used to sort of like have a subscription to O'Reilly. Whatever new book came out, it's like, I gotta get that one. Blogs, you know, I mean, people write about this stuff. Sometimes it's the only place you can actually find stuff, and a lot of times it's the only place I can find stuff. And reading code, gotta read the code. Classes, as I said, Front-End Masters, I'm really boosting them because I love them. And I take some stuff from Coursera. There's lots of other options, obviously. I'm doing some stuff with Girl Develop It, and we do classes for beginners, things like that. So, study groups. Is that spelled right? Yeah, I guess it is. Find one. Study groups are great because it's like, it's so much more fun to learn with other people who you're learning with and that kind of stuff. If you can't find one, start one. And I'm gonna throw in a little shameless plug here. I do this thing called Toast and Tech on Tuesday nights, which is just drop in, hang out, ask questions, answer questions, meet with people, that sort of thing. Meetups. Meetups are great places to learn things. You can bounce stuff off people and you learn all kinds of new stuff every time you go. Also conferences, workshops, whoops, bar camps, things like open source, those kinds of things. Practice. Okay, now we're really getting into the nitty of it. How do you go about practicing stuff? I collect exercises. There's things like little tools that I write, kind of like, I really need to make these files go here. How can I do that in this new language that I'm learning? And I write a lot of little toy apps. People know Exercism.io? Yes, no? Great online resource. You sign up and they have collections of problems in various languages. You finish a problem, you throw it up, you get critique on it, you can see other people's answers, and you can critique other people's stuff. Great resource. There's a book by Brian Hogan called Exercises for Programmers, and it's totally language agnostic, but it's like lots of little things to do. A lot of languages have what are called kata, which are just little exercises that you can pick up and learn. And Project Euler is a good one for if you want to learn like Python or something like that. Making tools. I love making tools. I'm also very lazy. So if I have to do something that I think is more than once and I'm going to hate it because it's boring, I write a script for it. So a lot of CLI hacks. I do a lot of one-liners, figuring how to do something in, you know, a nice little one-liner with Ruby or Perl or something like that. And these things called toasters, okay? Just a little appliance, tiny little appliance that does one little thing, okay? Toy apps. These are not real apps, but basically you go deep in a single concept. So let's see, an example. I was trying to figure out how state machines work in Rails, okay? So I wrote tiny little state machines that did all kinds of little things and kind of, you know, with ins and outs and that stuff like that. Doing enough to understand what it is, playing around with different approaches to how you do it. And test it thoroughly and break it thoroughly so you really understand it. Projects. I think it's, for me, real important to have a real project to work on. It's something that's goal-directed. You can break things down. Testing, 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 okay? The goal-directed is important. It needs to be for something. It has a purpose. It has an audience, and it serves a need. And the best ones of these are the ones that I actually get paid for, okay? So, little example, started a project for Software for Good about 3 or 4 months ago, and it was going to be written in Python. I have never programmed in Python before that point, so it's like, yay, I get to learn Python and get paid for it. Breaking things down, this is the usual thing. Trying to understand the structure of the project and the pieces and parts and how they fit together. New things to learn constantly in these sorts of things, so you kind of have to go back and do a little bit more study and a little bit more practice and stuff like that. And testing. Finally, teaching. This is the way that you culminate all that stuff into something that is more cohesive in your head by documenting it and then presenting it. Documenting. GitHub is a great place to document stuff. And have a blog. GitHub, you can use inline comments, of course, in your practice code and things like that. The READMEs are great places to talk about what you learned or what you're trying to learn. GitHub pages for actually doing documents. And then the project wikis that are on GitHub are also great for like additional information or if you want to communicate things. Blogging. So who has a blog? A few of you, not many of you, okay? So I write a blog about what I just learned, okay? Half of the stuff on my blog is like TIL, what I learned today. I'm writing to my former self, the person that I was before I learned. I'm writing for my future self because I'm going to come back and say, what I did there? What was that? That kind of thing. It's shared, even though most of my traffic is just search bots. And then talk, this sort of thing. Helping the next person. This is really important. So it's like, oh, I just learned this. Can I help you with this? Or I have this question and you can jump in and help them. We sometimes have this feeling, I sometimes have this feeling of, I need to know something to a really, really deep level. But what's really true is that the next person coming along is like just a page behind me, and it's easier to pull them along and also teach as I'm going. Assisting at events, teaching assisting during workshops, that sort of thing is really great, giving talks like this. So underneath this is a sense of discipline, and I didn't spell that correctly. The word discipline actually means to follow a teaching, okay? The idea of the process that I follow is this, and it's stolen from medical school, actually. The idea is that you see one, then you do one, then you teach one, and then repeat the process. And some philosophies I try to do along the way, just because it's like I've learned this is what works. Keep things simple. Focus towards operationalization. You're going to put it out someplace. Automate as much as possible, and finally test. Okay? Thank you. Are we doing questions? Are we doing questions? Or
yeah, you can ask your question.
Okay, questions, comments. Then you would do something different? Yes.
You said you like books. I think everybody likes books. Have you heard of a book called Mind for Numbers?
I have not.
It's a fantastic book on how to learn.
Okay.
There's a Coursera course on it. I've signed up for it twice. I just never got to it.
Okay.
But the book was written by a woman who was totally math focused and somehow got dumped into the math swimming pool and learned math after she was, like in the 20s. Now she's a professor at Stanford or somewhere.
Cool.
It's an excellent book on the kind of concepts you're talking about.
Yeah, Mind for Learning? Is that what it is? Okay. Okay, cool.
Mind for Numbers.
Oh, Mind for Numbers. Okay.
But it's not just learning math.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, the Tuesday night thing, you can find that on Meetup under Girl Develop It, and it's a Tuesday night toast and tech. It meets every week at Canteen 3255, which is Bryant's and 33rd, you know, a little bit in the Lynn Lake area, that kind of thing. Cool.
Excellent. Thank you.